Now, the Ministry of External Affairs speaking about the dastardly act in Pahalgam. Let's listen in.
Condolences to the families of the victims and hoped for the early recovery of the injured. Strong expressions of support and solidarity have been received from many governments around the world, which have unequivocally condemned this terror attack. The CCS recorded its appreciation for such sentiments, which reflect zero tolerance for terrorism. In the briefing to the CCS, the cross-border linkages of the terrorist attack were brought out. It was noted that this attack came in the wake of the successful holding of the elections in the Union Territory and its steady progress towards economic growth and development. Recognizing the seriousness of this terrorist attack, the CCS decided upon the following measures. 1. The Indus Water Treaty of 1960 will be held in abeyance with immediate effect until Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism. 2. The integrated checkpost Atari will be closed with immediate effect. Those who have crossed over with valid endorsements may return through that route before 1 May 2025. 3. Pakistani nationals will not be permitted to travel to India under the SARC visa exemption scheme visas. Any SVES visas issued in the past to Pakistani nationals are deemed cancelled. Any Pakistani national currently in India under SVES visa has 48 hours to leave India. 4. The Defence, Military, Naval and Air advisors in the Pakistani High Commission in New Delhi are declared persona non grata. They have a week to leave India. India will be withdrawing its own Defence, Navy and Air advisors from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. These posts in the respective High Commissions are deemed annulled. 5 support staff of the service advisors will also be withdrawn from both High Commissions. 5. The overall strength of the High Commissions will be brought down to 30 from the present 55 through further reductions to be effected by 1st May 2025. The CCS reviewed the overall security situation and directed all forces to maintain high vigil. It resolved that the perpetrators of this attack will be brought to justice and their sponsors held to account. As with the recent extradition of Tahawur Rana, India will be unrelenting in the pursuit of those who have committed acts of terror or conspired to make them possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we come to the closure of this press briefing. Thank you very much.
So indeed, we're hearing from the Ministry of External Affairs, and as expected, there is this zero tolerance towards acts of terror that is getting underlined that much more. And now the CCS is directing all forces now to remain on high alert, and they're expressing that zero tolerance towards terrorism. It's a line that we've seen appear over and over again. And now, as far as the Pahalgam attack is concerned, it is a reiteration. Meanwhile, the Indus Water Treaty is going to be held in abeyance, is what we are getting to hear from the Ministry of External Affairs as well. And indeed, Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister, is warning of the Pahalgam plotters that they will be brought to book. And Pak nationals, very importantly, another announcement that was made over there by the Ministry of External Affairs, they will not be permitted into India. So all of these pointers coming through. My colleague Sameer Dikshit has also been tracking the announcements coming through from the Ministry of External Affairs on the back of the dastardly attack that has been conducted in Pahalgam. Sameer, tell us what you got from the Ministry of External Affairs. That briefing just took place.
That's a big and loud message that has been sent by the Indian government to the world, not just to Pakistan, that India is going to retaliate, and they're going to retaliate very strongly. And in the same light, some big decisions have been taken by the Indian government, which has been apprised by the Ministry of External Affairs. The first and the most important thing, that the Indus Water Treaty will be held at abeyance. That's a big decision taken by the Indian government, that the Indus Water Treaty will be held at abeyance. Secondly, the Pakistan nationals will not be permitted to come to India, and any Pakistan national who has been to India, they have been asked to leave the country within 48 hours. That's a big message, that within 48 hours, all the Pakistani nationals who are there in the country, they have been asked, they have been directed to leave the country. Definitely, in addition to this, the economic dent has also been given by the Indian government, that the trade has been suspended by the Indian government. In addition to this, the support staff of service, they have been advised to withdraw from both the sides. So from the Indian government side, if you see the service staff which is there in Pakistan, they have been asked to shrink or to come down. The strength will be reduced. And similarly for Pakistan embassy here in India, it will be asked to reduce. So that's a big decision taken by the Indian government, and this clearly seems that the Indian government is going to retaliate very strongly. Even the Wagah-Atari border, which you usually see the beating retreat and the other kind of activity at the Wagah-Atari border, it has been asked to be closed with immediate effect, and that government has announced. And the visas which were earlier issued by the government. So any such SAARC visa, the South Asian visas which have been issued, it stands cancelled or annulled. So these all big decisions have been taken. And government understands that this decision will send a strong and a loud message to Pakistan, to the entire world, that India is not going to bow down against such a cowardly act, against such terrorist attack on Indian soil. So if you see, the larger picture is that within 24 to 30 hours, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with the other cabinet ministers, they held a CCS, a Cabinet Committee on Security, and they decided to go big when it comes to striking Pakistan. And these are the big decisions, that all the visas, they have been suspended of Pakistani nationals. They have been asked to go back to the country within 48 hours. The diplomatic relations, they are almost at standstill. Now, if you see the larger picture, the action that government has taken, it is on three fronts. The first one is that diplomatically, Pakistan will be almost at alag-thalag position. They have been stranded off. So the diplomatic relations has been totally pulled off. Economically also, hammer strike has been done by the Indian government, that trade has been suspended. And in addition to this, another big point is that Indian military has been asked to remain on standby mode. Indian military has been asked that if required, they are ready to retaliate. They will attack if in case it is required. So from all these three fronts, economically, diplomatically, and even on the defense side, from the military perspective,
yes,
they have been asked to be on the alert mode.
Diplomacy is a tool that is being used. There is defense as well, which of course, like you mentioned, the forces have been asked to stay on standby mode. And indeed, we are looking at an economic hit as well. And one very key important point is that the Indus Water Treaty, now that has been put in abeyance by the Indian government. We'll see exactly the fallout and what really comes through from the Pakistani side, but that's for later. Right now, my colleague Sumita is also with us on the phone line. Sumita, if you can bring us up to speed with all that we've heard so far. Of course, the Cabinet Committee on Security met earlier at the Prime Minister's residence, and then, of course, we've had the Ministry of External Affairs come out with these announcements right now. Why don't you walk us through them?
Yes, in fact, Vikram, it was a very short briefing, and we were given to understand from the Foreign Secretary who addressed the briefing that there are, further engagements that will happen, and which is why, it was a short briefing. A part of the briefing was also the Joint Secretary M. Anand Prakash as well. Overall, the Foreign Secretary briefed about the fact that the CCS met this evening, and it condemns the attack and expresses condolences to the families of those who've been affected, and strong expressions of support. The Foreign Secretary was mentioning have come in of support of solidarity have been received. And cross-border linkages of the attack have also been brought out. Remember, the Foreign Secretary made a very important point, and that is the fact that this attack, because Jammu and Kashmir largely was safe all of these past few years, but this attack came in the wake of holding elections in the Union Territory and the steady growth and progress that was seen in the region. So let me walk you through some of the key decisions that have come out as far as that very crucial meeting is concerned. Number one, that the Wagah-Atari border will be closed with immediate effect, and those who have come through, they can leave by the 1st of May. So 1st of May is the deadline for all of those nationals to go back. Any SARC visa, that stands annulled. The position of defense advisors in Pakistan High Commission, that has been declared persona non grata, and in fact the Foreign Secretary also stated that India will be withdrawing its advisors from Islamabad. 5 personnel of the service advisors, they will be withdrawn. So those are some of the key takeaways and key decisions that the CCS took. And of course, the key underlying is that India will be unrelenting in the pursuit of those who have committed acts of terror, of this ghastly attack that claimed lives of 25 people, 25 Indian nationals and 1 Nepalese national.
From the announcements that have been made by the Ministry of External Affairs, Sumita, it's quite clear that the kind of strike, it's a diplomatic strike which is taking precedence over all others. At this point in time, we're not hearing about any kind of defense mechanism that is going to play out. Of course, the defense minister has said very strongly that there will be a very conclusive action that will be taking place, but we don't have any details of that. But at this point in time, whether you talk about those visas that are going to be held ineffective, and this is something that is a strong case as far as the diplomatic missions in both the countries. India is calling back its advisors from Islamabad, and people who are present in the Pakistan High Commission who are defense advisors, they've been declared persona non grata as well. So one would have to consider that this is a diplomatic strike that's taking precedence over any other. Would you agree, Sumita?
Vikram, and this was a consistent statement that was that's being made by the Indian government. In fact, the Foreign Secretary also at some point during his address mentioned that diplomatic solutions will be looked at. And very important point I forgot to mention is about the Indus Water Treaty that will be held in abeyance. Remember, the treaty was signed in 1960 when Jawaharlal Nehru was at the helm of affairs. And of course, one big clause of that treaty was the fact that it will not be annulled. Any one side cannot declare it null and void. That sort of unilateral action could not be taken. But now the Foreign Secretary has mentioned that the Indus Water Treaty will be held in abeyance. We'll have to see how Pakistan really retaliates to that, because that was brokered by the World Bank, remember.
Yes, an important piece, and it is quite crucial because here we're talking about an economic kind of hit as well. With the abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty, what more details do we have? Because it was something that was crucial as far as any kind of connection, any kind of relation, any kind of, this kind of camaraderie between the two nations is concerned. And now this treaty, which has long been standing, has been put in abeyance.
And this treaty, Vikram, it allowed India to have the control of the so-called eastern rivers. It basically divided the waters of the Indus. So Ravi, Beas, Satluj would come to India, and Pakistan would control waters of the Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. And of course, while this has been one option that's been expressed by, many army experts and generals and of course diplomatic experts, the fact that, this could be annulled. However, many were saying that this was easier said than done. It was, like I said, signed in 1960 to divide the tributaries. But it could not be, annulled just on one side. In fact, if I take you through some of the other provisions of the treaty or some of the other concerns, is that it could hamper India's image internationally, in neighboring countries, because they could also get skeptical about similar treaties that those countries have with India. So that was, of course, one, concern. But we'll have to see how this really plays out and what is going to be the retaliation from the other side, from Pakistan. But as of now, India is standing on a solid footing because we've seen world leaders come out and support India. And of course, they have condemned this dastardly attack that's claimed, at least 25 lives.
Yes. So in that sense, Sumita, there is a lot of diplomatic kind of support coming through for India on the Pahalgam massacre. And indeed, we'll have to wait for more reactions as they come through with the Ministry of External Affairs stance. But very importantly, we are getting to hear that the central government is likely to convene an all-party meeting tomorrow as well. Political consensus is going to be an important piece when you're talking about action against Pakistan. And we're talking about this diplomatic, of course, effort from the government side to be able to kind of respond to what we've seen in Pahalgam. Let's connect again. My colleague Samir Dikshit knows more about this. Samir, I understand the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is going to chair this all-party meeting tomorrow. What have you heard about it?
Yes, absolutely. So this important all-party meeting has been convened by the central government. It is going to take place tomorrow, and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is going to chair this very important meeting. And the primary purpose or the big agenda of this meeting is to apprise the opposition party, all the parties, political parties, about the big decisions that have been taken up by the Indian government, by the CCS, in wake of Pahalgam terror strike. We all know that the decisions that have been taken by the Indian government, they are quite strong in nature. They are big decisions, and that is going to be shared with the opposition parties, and not just apprising about the entire situation, but also taking in loop and getting in the confidence of the opposition parties. Government is trying to give a big message that this is the time where the politics should not take place. All the political parties should come together and should show the world that at the time of such a sensitive matter, at the time of such terror strikes, India stands strongly, unitedly, and that is what government is trying to convey. And in the same way, in the same light, an all-party meeting has been convened by the central government to be chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, and the political parties will be apprised about the government's decision, and this meeting is going to take place tomorrow.
An appraisal, Samir, or is there going to be a likely kind of questioning of the government as well in terms of its proactive measures to be able to respond to this dastardly act in Pahalgam?
So basically, government understands that during such scenario, during such a sensitive time, definitely the politics will not take place, and the opposition parties will extend their support to the decisions that have been taken up by the central government. Whatsoever the statements that you might hearing coming in from the other corners of the country, from the other political figures, that might be a different case. But when it comes to coming together to get to know what decisions have been taken up by the government and what is the rationale behind those decisions, to a larger understanding, government understands that the opposition party will extend their full support, standing together with the central government, and will try to show a solidarity to the world that the politics on several issues might be, the political ideologies might be different, but when it comes to the nationality, when it comes to the sovereignty of the country, all the political parties, they are united, they come under one roof, and that's the big message that government wants to convey. And this all-party meeting, which has been called up by the central government for tomorrow, will try to convey the same and the big message.